Ada for not caring my mom cheated. So, I'm a 19-year-old girl who lives with my father and works online via several programs. My parents divorced 2 years ago as a consequence of my mother's extramarital relationship. My father and brother, both 24 years old, were particularly hurt by it. My brother used to call my mother A, and I would get into a fight with him, telling him that he shouldn't trash the woman who had given him life. Due to his desire for me to take part in this smear campaign against my mother, our relationship has been strained. However, I refuse to cooperate. Though I recognize that what she did was wrong and that she should not have done it, 2 years have elapsed since her actions, and I feel it is time to move on. As a result of the fact that I attend church with my mother, my father and brother like making fun of me during Sunday dinner, saying things like ironic that you spend so much time in God's house with an adulterer. The fact that my father is wise a Christian, yet my brother is an agnostic, is a peculiar twist on the story. My father's behavior of my mother, in my view, does not reflect Christian values. When mom drops me off at home or makes a visit to see my brother, he is quite disrespectful to her and treats her badly. God teaches us forgiveness, which I learned from my mother and put into practice. She was responsible for the disintegration of our family, but she is still my mother, and I adore her. I still see her every weekend, and we always have a good time together doing fun things with her and her new boyfriend. She seems to be happier now than she ever was with her father, despite the fact that he has become more bitter since the divorce. Formerly a happy-go-lucky person, he is now always grouchy and a downer on life. I received a new phone on Sunday, and I immediately informed my father and brother of my new phone number. When my father inquired as to whence I received the phone, I said that it had been given to me by my mother's lover. In addition to raging at me and declaring that he doesn't know who I am anymore, he demanded that I remove items from the guy with whom my mother had cheated. I made it clear to my father that I'd had enough of living in the past and that I was ready to move on. In the event that my mother makes a mistake, I have no reason to be angry with her or to consider divorcing her. We are all human beings, and we all make mistakes from time to time. That individuals cheat sometimes, that it's a normal part of life, and that he required extra therapy to fully comprehend it were my words. I'd coddled my father for 2 years and kept my mouth shut, but I'd had enough of him slamming my mother in front of the whole family. It had to come to an end. My brother intervened and declared that cheating is the most heinous act that has ever been committed, to which I smiled and answered, I honestly doubt that, but we may disagree. As a result, none of them has spoken with me since then, and I'm contemplating moving in with my mother. I stay to help with the cooking and cleaning around the house, but I feel underappreciated and hated in this environment. I wouldn't have to cook or clean in my mother's house since the staff would take care of everything for me. So Ada cheated on me because she didn't care about my mother enough? Story 2. Ada for wanting a painting made by my late sister in my house even though it triggers my husband, who's her widower. The only sister I had, who was 25 at the time of her death, died in a car accident 3 months after she was married. I was 34 years old at the time of her death. She'd been gone for 12 years when she passed away. We were really close, more like best friends than sisters, and we were always together. Despite the fact that my mother had died, my now husband, 38-year-old male, Adam, remained a constant presence in my family's life, since he saw my parents on a daily basis and was beloved by them. The two of us started dating 5 years ago and were married 2 years later. In her spare time, my sister painted, and she had left 8 paintings behind. My parents picked 2 for themselves, I took 3, and the rest were given to her close friends. They'd offered Adam any he wanted, but he declined. Because the paintings reminded me of my sister, I cherished them and proudly displayed them in my apartment before meeting Adam. But when we began dating, the paintings seemed to worry him, so I decided to put them in storage. All of us mourn in various ways, and for Adam, everything that has anything to do with her sets off a chain of events that transports him back to the horrifying day when he discovered she had passed away. No images or other keepsakes of her can be found in our possession. I've been understanding during this period, but I feel as if I've completely erased her from my life, and I brought up the subject of displaying one of her paintings in our house the other day as evidence of this. Adam brushed off the idea and refused to hear my side of the story, which was a disappointment to me. Due to the fact that I've always paid close attention to him, I was hurt that he didn't even care to consider my feelings on the situation. This was made even worse when I suggested that we go through grief counseling together today, which irritated him even more. He wasn't screaming, but he was clearly upset that I was prolonging the issue. He stated that he had previously gone through grief counseling and that my persistence is only exposing old wounds. Seeing how much she meant to me, I was enraged and demanded to know why he had ever contemplated marrying me if the thought of her made him so miserable, knowing how much she meant to me. After a while, he told me that he couldn't stand me or this conversation any longer, and that he was leaving for his brother's place to cool down because he doesn't want to say anything he'll regret later. Now that I'm alone, I'm beginning to wonder whether I went a little too far. Is this a case of AITA? Update. I'd want to brush off the fact that most people assumed I was TA for marrying Adam. We're both adults, and no one should ever be humiliated for falling in love with someone. But knowing how Reddit is, I realized I was asking for it. Having stated that I feel I am TA in this situation, which is why I am here to discuss it more. As a result, I was unable to react to the majority of you until Adam arrived home later that evening. Some of you reached out to me through chat and private message to discuss it, but I didn't have the energy to answer. So please accept my apologies if I failed to acknowledge your correspondence. As it turns out, I was just thinking about myself when I suggested to Adam that we take the paintings out of storage. Once Adam settled down and went home, he shared his version of what had happened. In order to cope with my sister's death, he chose to start over by purchasing a new house, selling all of his old belongings, and starting over from the beginning of his life. As previously said, the paintings were a part of their old furniture, which I failed to explain since, as previously stated, I was not really thinking about his feelings at the time. Many years later, when we started our new life together, he expressed a desire to not have a piece of his past serve as a constant reminder of her presence in his present. He said that my remarks had an impact on him since we'd been through so much together, and that my questioning everything during our disagreement had truly messed him up. It would be unjust to Adam if I went into more detail about what we spoke about, but to summarize, I sincerely apologized for bringing up Adam's earlier trauma, and he also expressed regret for the way he handled things. We both agreed that we were in severe need of treatment, so we began looking for a therapist in our area right this minute. The OP was also shown to him, and he did care for most of the comments, but there was one that sparked his interest. Someone suggested buying something new that reminded him of my sister, such as an animal that she adored, and he stated he could live with that suggestion. My sister enjoyed incorporating moons and stars into her paintings, but never wore jewelry to go with them, so I recommended that he consider purchasing a moon pendant or earrings and wearing them on occasion, and he was on board with the idea. I'm afraid the paintings will be kept in storage indefinitely until Adam is happy with them in our house, which may be years. I don't care if he never accepts it, but I'm grateful that we were able to come to an understanding and begin the healing process. Everyone that assisted me in seeing how mistaken I was and what an I was is much appreciated. Edit. I just wanted to let you know that I won't be responding to any more comments about why I married Adam and how I am the constant reminder. I think I explained myself sufficiently in the OP, but I guess it's fine if you don't understand because you don't know our full story, which would only be possible if I wrote a 500-page book explaining every event that brought us closer together, and we might be here for a while I type that out. I don't want to be condemned for liking him anymore, so I'm ignoring it for both of our sakes.